Hello and welcome back to the channel, or if it's your first time, hello, my name is Key. I'm actually the inventor of comedy, so if you don't laugh at any of my jokes, it's actually your fault. I didn't think we'd be back here in this setting again because something very silly has happened, and I want you to know I don't use the word silly lightly. So the day after I finished the Zombies 3 video, they announced a series of animated shorts about the Zombies franchise. I refuse to believe they did this out of anything but spite for me. I originally was gonna not cover it. I mean, they came out 6 months ago. If you can't tell that I was gonna not cover it, that's your hint. But I held a poll, and I think I'm the Zombies guy, so it's my job, legally speaking. There isn't much to say about the series in terms of lore or prerequisite information. The total runtime for it is 23 minutes. So let's just go ahead and dive in headfirst and get this over with before I give myself an aneurysm. But hold on, I gotta move first, and I don't know how to do it on camera, so transition, also costume change, because I did it in the last video, so I'm kind of required to do it here. Episode 1, Endless Summer. The first episode of the series is a song that has the same title as the episode itself. And before you get your hopes up for more Zombies brand music, it's actually the only full song in the entire series. The song starts when Zed and Addison find this random doll on this random beach boardwalk and wish for summer to never end. It all seems to be going well until the second verse when they realize that Endless Summer is a free ticket to the hospital for heat stroke. So the next chorus is a much more depressing version of the first. I do like how things get progressively more chaotic, and the third verse is just a hectic free-for-all of sorts. The vocals also get a lot weaker and more tired as the song progresses, which is a great performance on the part of Meg Donnelly and Milo Manheim. You know what, I'm gonna give this song an honorary spot in the DCOM Hall of Fame. If I wasn't 21 years old, I would probably sing along to this. But let's go ahead and move on to the next episode before I throw up from praising the Zombies franchise for a change. Episode 2, Solstice Slasher. This episode revolves around Addison showing up in the middle of the woods with Zed to go to her first werewolf party. I like the implication that social gatherings and parties in this universe can be entirely distinguished by race. Oh, do you want to go to this Mexican party with me tonight? Oh, nah, man, I'm going to a Chinese party later today. Oh, hey, do you guys want to come to a Caucasian party with me tonight? Why the hell would you ask me that? Dude, no, gross. I'm sorry, God, I'm sorry, wow. I won't ask again. Oh, hey, what's up, guys 1 through 3? Oh, hey, guy 4. Oh, hey, well, at least he didn't ask you to go to an African party, right, guys? Oh, yeah. Black parties. Dude, those suck. Yeah, who the fuck ever wanted to go to a black party, am I right? Embarrassing. You wouldn't catch me dead at a black party. I'm glad we're all racist. When Wynter runs off, Willa tells Addison that she needs to be on patrol in the woods in case the Solstice Slasher shows up, saying that every summer solstice he shows up and kills everyone he sees in cold blood simply because he feels like it. So Willa and Wynter prank Addison by making themselves a fake Solstice Slasher. I know that this is just like a folktale, but you have to think about the implications that some guy comes out and murders everyone every single year and they just keep having the party. Like, that would be my first thought. I'd be like, oh, that's bullshit, because if that were true, half of you motherfuckers wouldn't be here. Anyway, the prank seems to be going well until Wynter refuses to come out of the costume and instead bursts out of the bushes. So Addison and Willa attempt to fight the Solstice Slasher, but it ends up being Zed and Wyatt who are just pranking them too. This is the first time in this series that Addison has like willingly tried to throw hands with anyone. If this were really Addison, she would have asked to be friends with it first until it tried to kill everyone, and then she would have asked to be friends with it again. But regardless of that, Wynter is still scared and attacks both Zed and Wyatt. I don't care that Zed is a zombie, he definitely just broke something here for sure. But he'll have to deal with any serious injuries off screen because this episode is over. Episode 3, Grill or Be Grilled. Bucky is hosting a regular food barbecue contest because he really doesn't want any ethnically diverse food at his barbecue. Zed and Addison are making grilled pizza. I'm sure that's a real thing, don't get me wrong, but that feels wrong to say out loud. Willa and Wynter are going to make a barbecue pit and make smoked Sasquatch. And lastly, Eliza and Aspen are making a machine that can make anything they ask for. Wait, that's the Flidcidmifer. It's the f***ing Flidcidmifer. Zed is nervous that everyone else is making something more interesting, so he wants to add a little kick to his dish. So he adds lime soda to his pizza, which in reality would be disgusting, yes, but hold your horses, it's just a plot device instead, which might be equally as disgusting, I don't know. If you remember, this is the exact type of soda that caused the zombie apocalypse. I'm now realizing I'm wearing a green bracelet. And I'm using a green screen. That is an editing me problem. I'm not gonna do anything about it. Yes, so they're still selling the soda that caused the zombie apocalypse.
No, I mean like this. Ta-da!
Isn't that the exact type of soda that caused the zombie apocalypse?
It should be noted that it didn't, like, technically cause it. Someone just spilled soda on a control panel and that, like, caused a radioactive reaction at the plant they were working at. So blaming the soda itself would be kind of reductive. You should probably blame the guy who spilled the soda. But even then, in the real world, Corona beer took a huge hit in the stock market because it had the same name as the virus that shall not be named. Oh, I just named it. So the fact that the soda is even on store shelves anymore is probably the most unrealistic thing about this series, and that's counting what's about to happen in the rest of the episode. So Zed puts the soda on the pizza, and then Addison accidentally zaps it with her spark, which is a thing she can do now. As far as I'm aware, it's just electricity, but we'll get into that a little deeper later. Spoiler alert, she will zap things multiple times in this series, but I think save the last episode, she doesn't ever do it on purpose. Anyways, after zapping the pizza, it becomes a sentient monster. What? But they quickly dispatch it by using Eliza and Aspen's invention to cook it to perfection. I'm hoping that that thing doesn't have, like, a soul, or else they all just canonically murdered something. Alright, so we gotta quickly note the fact that this series is clearly less grounded than the actual movies are. I mean, that was a pizza monster, and we're on the third episode. And I know it's weird to point this out when our main characters are a half-white alien chick and a zombie nigga, so I may not be picking my battles correctly here, but, like, they just made a living pizza. I feel like that's a bit more off of the realm of what we've been experiencing. What the f was that about? Episode 4, Cabin in the House. Eliza's already deep into her summertime coding hole, even though she should be going on a camping trip with the rest of the group. But she says she doesn't need to go camping because she has camping at home. This is the camping at home. She made an entire VR forest to avoid human interaction and going outside. I respect the not wanting to go outside thing, but this is definitely harder than just putting on bug spray. The rest of the episode focuses on Zed trying to get Eliza to take the red pill and get her out of the Matrix. I haven't seen the Matrix, so I'm hoping that reference makes sense. Though Eliza is good at coding, I guess, and makes obstacles that stop Zed from apprehending her. This goes on until Zed and Eliza run into several versions of Wyatt that she definitely wasn't gonna do anything questionable with. After running into this abomination against God that proves she's a furry, she returns to the real world in embarrassment. This is entirely unrelated to my review, but when I was making the thumbnail for this video, I was sitting with my partner and putting this guy up on the thumbnail. And every single time I turned the layer on, my partner would just laugh hysterically for minutes at a time at this thing. I love them so much. You know, I guess it kind of makes sense that that Eliza would be a furry though, because furries are the only people who are remotely good enough at coding to figure out how to make this. Episode 5, Suddenly Seabrook. This episode is about the second time that Addison and Zed create sentient life by dropping lime soda on it, then adding electricity to it. We are 5 episodes in, and they are already out of inciting incidents. Also, this gives me a lot more questions than answers. Can Addison just create sentient life out of anything as long as she's got enough Mountain Dew? And like, by proxy, couldn't any of the aliens do that? Do these things like... Do they have souls? Like, when they inevitably kill these things, does the end of the existence spell the eternal damnation of all of our main characters? Or did they just cook her the pizza? I guess we'll never know. I do find it entertaining that Zed literally says they should probably just stop selling the soda in Seabrook.
I honestly think this town should just stop selling soda.
So you get some funny points for that, but I'm still more than conflicted about the state of our main character's morality. Bucky then immediately gets abducted by this giant sentient piranha plant, and Zed, Addison, and Eliza reluctantly go to save him. So they gear up and tweak out, only to find that Bucky has used his homosexual influences to teach the Venus flytrap how to assist him in his next cheerleading routine. Alright, even for me, that's gotta be up there as one of the weirdest sentences I've ever said. That's kind of the rest of the episode. Nothing really happens. I mean, they sing. It's short, but they do it. Bucky does this, and it makes him look fruity. But other than that, episode over. Definitely the most nothing of all the episodes, but still one of my favorites because it's pretty funny. Episode 6, I think we're a clone now? I don't know if that's I don't know if that's a question. I don't really know how to read the title for this one. You know, judging by all the episodes based on barbecue, camping, cooking, and even the one that's literally about summer, you'd think that this takes place during summer, right? But it actually takes place during Snow Bunny season, as Addison has cloned herself dozens of times with a strange meteorite that Eliza has left in her locker. She clones herself because she has too much studying, chores, and cheerleading for one girly to handle. So she sends her army of clones to do her busy work while she goes to get busy with Zed. I don't get why every time people make clones, they always make them do the shit that they already don't want to do. Like, no wonder they hate you. If I had a clone, I would just make the world's best Fortnite squad or something. Aw, thanks, I appreciate that, man. Oh yeah, anytime, man. Anyway, Addison tells her clones to go do some slave labor while she goes to give her zombies some brain. After returning, we find out that the clones have grouped up and decided that they've had enough of cheerleading and homework and decide it's time to destroy the Earth. Well, they've been sentient for 2 hours and they decided everything else gotta go. But much like a Tesla, the Addison clones aren't put together very well, and all it takes is some chlorinated water to make them fall apart. These motherfuckers really came out of a mysterious space rock, and all it takes to defeat them is fucking pool water? I didn't think it had to be like depleted uranium or anything like that, but pool water. After racking up 7 counts of manslaughter, the group has saved the day. Until they learn that Bucky had his turn with the evil space rock, and they go to take out their anger on a couple Bucky clones. Episode 7, Coach's Cat. Remember Coach? You probably do because he's one of the best characters in the franchise, but the movie seemingly forgot about him after the first one. I think he had one line in the third movie, and it was during a song that everybody else was in. Coach is back to administer the yearly fitness test. This year's fitness test is a 2-mile run while yodeling. That one kid from Walmart would eat this up. In an attempt to get out of this, Bucky does the tried and true classic of asking the teacher about something irrelevant and getting them to talk about their personal life for the entire class period. So he asks Coach what's in the pet carrier when we learn that he has adopted a monster from the mind of Ridley Scott. It is also vaguely referenced that he got the pet from the magic stand in episode 1, which is a nice touch. I like the continuity. He did get a list of instruction and rules that he refused to read because he had better things to do at this time, so he hands it off to Addison to do it for him. The rules are to never give it soda, don't piss it off, and to not let it eat any flowers after 9:43 a.m. So naturally they do all of those. This causes Razzie the cat to turn into Razzie the furry. I know that's the second furry joke I made in this video, but like, come on, it's right there. This scares off all the kids, making them start their 2-mile run for their life, and they begin yodeling simply because Coach asks them to. Coach doesn't end up running because he intended for this to happen the whole time. He knew Razzie was just chill like that. Seems like a roundabout way to go about it, but I mean, not like they could say no anyway, like they're at school. Quick intermission. So what are the lore implications for this? Like, this show has a lot more fantastical shit going on it than the main movie ever did. Coach just now has a giant fuzzy cat nigga. So what are they gonna do if they ever decide to make a Zombies 4? And don't say they won't. This is the same company that's rebooting the Descendants franchise after Cameron Boyce's death. I guess I don't really care that much, and realistically, it's not like they would ever do another live-action movie. It's possible, just not plausible. But like, if they do make another one, is there going to be a giant cat monster? Are they going to fight another sentient pizza? These are the questions that the people need answers to. Because like, if it does, I mean, I'm still gonna watch it. I'm still gonna watch it. But I would be very confused while doing it. And also the CGI would probably be pretty bad. I don't wanna see that. Episode 8, Robot Space Bear. You know, it's in the title. I don't know how to really describe that one. Addison and Zed somehow find themselves being chased by a robot space bear. Seriously, I just finished an intermission where I talked about what the they're supposed to do if they make another movie. Where did this even come from? But Addison and Zed begin to argue with whether or not it should be called Robot Space Bear or Bear Space Robot. They really take their time and communicate why they think it should be one thing instead of the other, and honestly, it's pretty funny.
Why would you call it a bear space robot instead of a robot space bear?
I don't know! Maybe it's because the majority of it is a bear, so so I felt like that should go first.
It's interesting how the names we choose highlight our different perspectives.
Eliza then comes up, just shuffling past it, and calls it a space robot bear because she's a contrarian. My favorite character and Willa also show up and call it a bear robot creature and space robot bear respectively. This is because Aspen knows it's not from space and Willa knows it can't be an actual bear. The argument then pivots from what it should be called to whether or not they should kill it. Zed and Willa want to suplex it into oblivion while Addison and Eliza want to talk to it. Oh my gosh, is anyone surprised that Addison wants to talk to the thing that looks like it's trying to kill them? Like, I don't know, it's the plot of all three movies. It would gotta be weird if she didn't do this. Aspen says that they're interested in either outcome. Leave it up to the non-binary person to not be able to pick a side, right? I mean, they couldn't even pick their gender. This will be comedy in 2023. The arguing devolves into a song, which is like a solid 6 out of 10, and they try to decide what to do with the creature robot from space. The song is pretty mid, but the dancing is funny, so that's cool. It's not on Spotify because I guess it's because it's short and it's not that good, but in case you were curious. The bear then interjects at the final line of the song saying that they wish to eat them all with ranch on a thin crust pizza.
So glad to meet you, can't wait to eat you. Bet you taste great with some ranch on a thin crust pizza.
I hate ranch dressing.
This scares them all off, leaving the bear in the alley alone. The bear's just a friendly little guy. That last line was a joke, but why would you joke about that to people who are clearly scared of you? Like, this would be like if I chased someone around with a knife, finally caught up to them and just like, hey, want me to cut you up a slice of this orange? I don't fucking know. Why would I do that? But it reveals that it uses the pronouns robot space bear, much to Zed's delight. If you're curious, this is actually the linguistically correct version of it, so I don't want to hear any other versions of it in the comments. I swear to God, I will delete them all. That episode is such a mixed bag to me. It's consistently the funniest for like the first half, but then the song just like comes in and ruins it in my opinion. Not because the song in and of itself is bad, but because it like throws off the pacing of the episode a bit. And with how good the episode was going, it's a pretty weird way to close it out. Episode 9. Wynter Transport. This is the last episode, but I accidentally watched this one first, and it made me immediately decide that I was going to do a video on this entire series. Now, that doesn't mean that this is a good episode necessarily, but it does mean that this is at least interesting enough for me to dedicate nearly 40 hours making a video on a fucking short series about a movie I don't even like. The episode starts when Wynter realizes that she left her science homework at home, right before class starts. But lucky for her, Eliza just finished building the plot device for the episode, a teleporter. Wynter then leaves, and when she comes back, a giant cricket emerges from the transporter wearing her hat. Seemingly it's one of the crickets that Zed brought to feed his pet iguana. From this information, they quickly infer that this is the result of Wynter merging with the cricket while using the transporter. One of the benefits of this show being, well, a short series, is that they have to get to the point. They don't have time to like around and figure out what the hell's going on. They just know what happens instantaneously. And honestly, it does wonders for both the writing and the pacing of this show. Willa and Zed decide that they need to destroy the teleporter so that this never happens to anyone else. Pretty interesting that they decided to do this because there's still a giant cricket monster and it's not even their property. So ultimately, this kind of just boils down to being a dick move. Like that, your priorities are a little out of whack here. Willa then decides to try and talk to Wynter, and there's a short song here that is admittedly pretty funny. Not necessarily the song itself, but the fact that she's singing a f***ing ballad to a cricket who clearly doesn't give a shit. But during Willa's profession of love to Wicket, that's Wynter Cricket for those of you playing along at home, Wynter walks in. She decided to walk back on foot because it was a nice day, and she could run 35 miles per hour, so it just kind of worked out. So if you're curious about how the cricket got in the machine, you're gonna have to stay that way because the show doesn't really say it. Like, how does the teleporter work in reverse is never actually addressed. Is it like a beam me up Scotty type deal where it just kind of does it? Like maybe it's on a timer or something. Does it create like a second identical teleporter in its target location and then like destroys it when it's done? Or maybe it's like a nether porter where it just like leaves an extra one behind. I don't know. And I certainly don't give a fuck because now Wynter and a giant cricket are just chilling in a room together. Wynter says that this is Mr. Paddlesticks, her giant pet cricket who likes to wear her hats sometimes. How in the did none of you know she had a giant pet cricket? This is especially weird when we're privy to the information that werewolves live in what essentially is a giant commune. They don't like have individual houses. Where was she keeping it? Is my question. Where do you keep a giant cricket? Well guys, if what I'm about to say doesn't prove that God is dead, I don't know what will. I enjoyed the Zombies Reanimated short series. I don't know why my seat was so far back just then. I mean, I genuinely have minimal complaints for this series. This isn't very surprising because it runs for the same amount of time as an episode of Family Feud. Starting with the way it looks, I wouldn't say that the show is necessarily uninspired, but it is like 2 degrees removed from Apple's Animojis. The lack of texture and shading makes the world feel pretty bland at times, but the animation itself is pretty well done. It can look stiff at times, but I know that the show probably had a budget of like $300 in Shoney's gift cards, so I think it's more than serviceable. I also like the way that the characters themselves look. I was worried they'd start to feel a little like Fortnite skins, but I'm happy to report that that isn't the case. Although at the same time, if these appeared in Fortnite, I would 100% be rocking the Aspen skin. Please have a crossover. The main reason I like this short series is because it's surprisingly funny. I've said this in my past videos on the movies, but I've always thought that the series was getting funnier and better as it went on, and this pretty much solidifies my opinion on that. They finally realized what humor works for not only the series itself, but its actors. I mean, Milo Manheim does a really good job on some of these line deliveries. Admittedly, some of them aren't that great. I mean, these guys aren't voice actors, but for some of them, they just hit home. One random nitpick, this isn't gonna count to like the score of the show, but I think it's weird, but there are like 2 times I can think of off the top of my head where it's referenced that the characters have homework or are in school in some capacity. I've been to school in 4 different states on both sides of the country, and I've never gone to school from July to August. I mean, they could have said it was like right before summer break or something, but the first episode of this series is them establishing that they're on summer break or in the height of summer. And then like 2 episodes later, they're in geometry class. But like I said, it's a nitpick. It's a short series. I'm not sure continuity matters that much. Just something I wanted to point out. Anyway, this video is getting scarily close to the runtime of the show, so I'm gonna go ahead and give this thing a score. On the critical score, I'm going to give it a shockingly painful 8 out of 10. I know that seems kind of high. Like, I'm giving this movie like a really high score. I gave Swindle a 7 out of 10, if I remember correctly. The thing is, I just don't have that many tangible complaints about the show. But keep in mind, this is an 8 out of 10 for an animated short series on the Disney Channel. There isn't necessarily enough content to love or hate it another way, but for what it is, I think it's a good show. But if this were a movie or even just like a regular 15-30 minute show, it'd probably be closer to like a 6 because of its utter lack of substance. The show being 2 minutes does force some creativity for the writers, but it also makes them not have to work as hard as well. There's only 2.5 minutes of they need to write. On the fun score, I'll give it a 8.5 out of 10. Once again, the score is marginally inflated by the fact that you could play like 5 matches of Splatoon in the time that this show runs, but it's fun. If you have 20 minutes in a depression diagnosis, this is probably something you should consider watching. Not that it would cure your depression, I don't know why it would, but it would make you feel a little better knowing that someone else had to animate these and they have it worse than you do. All right, thank you guys so much for watching this video. This is the end of season 5. So I will be back in about a month, which seems to be the way my schedule is going anyway recently. I've been in school, as I've said before. It's been going well. Just finished my first semester at university. But yeah, season 6 is going to work a little differently while I'm in school. I'm probably going to try to post once a month at the bare minimum. I will go back to doing my Disney movies since it doesn't really seem like you guys are interested in much else, which is fair. I respect that. So comment some Disney movies you want me to do. I know for a fact I'm going to start with Teen Beach Movie. So Teen Beach Movie 2. Don't bother with that one. That is the first video I'll probably be making. It'll be out in January. February will be the Avatar review / video essay. It is a long video. 2 more things. I am starting work on 2 video essays. One is a video essay on the history and kind of weird lore of Dan Schneider. I just think it's interesting, and I've always wanted to do something like that. I love Quentin Reviews videos. He is a great inspiration to me, so I'll probably be taking some pages from his book on that one. And a video essay on the history of Animal Crossing New Horizons. That one I may not end up like actually fully doing because it may not have that much to talk about. But I think it's very interesting how the game kind of like existed and then died in like the span of like a year. If you guys want to help me out more, a great way to support me is going to my Patreon and pledging something. I will only be using that for the videos. Something I want to start doing, I think I've said this before, is themed costumes. I will be doing those entirely for my Animal Crossing video if I can help it. I don't think I can do it for my Dan Schneider video because how the hell do you make a costume for a video about Dan Schneider? Anyway, I will talk to you guys in January. I'm going to go relax now that I'm finally done with the Zombies franchise. Oh, for the love of God!